real time or whether you are watching this after the fact. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Siddiqui. This is Dear Siddiqui, the time that I set aside every week to answer your questions from that place of intuition, psychicness. I'm actually going to a collective conscious that I have, Dear Siddiqui, and I'm bringing through the answers to these questions that people have written in, not from a place of ego or personality, but from a place of being of service to you with my gift of intuition so that you can truly, truly live your best life. Speaking of living your best life, I want to bring you to one of the viewers that actually responded, someone's whose question I answered. When you ask a question at dearsiddiqui@gmail.com, I think it's right down there. You can ask it anonymously, but we will always track it and we will send you a link to the recording where we answered your question. So this is in response to one such occasion. It's a viewer response. It's on the previous episode on relationships. Dear Siddiqui, thank you for tuning in and confirming the voice of my inner truth. It gave me great comfort to have my sense of knowing affirmed and reflected back to me. I made a powerful relationship decision with clarity and confidence as a result of your intuitive guidance. Thank you so much. And that is from Anonymous in Australia. It's always great to hear your feedback on how this is landing for you. I know a lot of you watch this silently. Maybe it's like your guilty pleasure or something, and you don't respond, and that's okay. We would love your comments. And hey, if you're here, please do us the favor and subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel below so that you get notifications of these weekly posts. Also, if you are on LinkedIn, let's connect so that we can support each other. And if we're on Facebook, of course, we're probably already friends, but I would love to hear from you anyway. So please feel free to write your comments below on whatever channel you're watching this on. And by all means, if you have a question that you would like me to channel the answer to, dearsiddiqui@gmail.com, right there. You can ask them anonymously if you don't want me to use your name. That's fine. And we often take the episode where we have answered your question and we send it to you in an email so that even if you missed it because you were anonymous, you still get the episode afterwards. So let me just dive right into the theme for today, which is, of course, love, relationships. We're here on Valentine's Day, which was originally, I'm not even going to attempt to go into what Valentine's Day is or what it has become. But I do want to talk about relationships and love. It is the top subject that people write to me and ask me questions about. Lots of relationship queries, lots of questions about trusting yourself and trusting your intuition around love. And that is certainly the theme for today. So let me just start off by saying this, that we are in a time in our lives, for those of you that are watching this is a general reading, but I am tuning into the collective energy here. We're at a time in our lives, we're tuning in to our heart space and really cultivating a sense of compassion for the messages that we get there, and really a relationship with your own heart space. And by heart, I don't just mean the physical heart, I mean the metaphorical space where you're tuned in and tapped in to your heartfelt desires, what it is that you really want in your life. And simultaneously, like with any relationship, your ability to trust what's in your heart, to tune into it, and to really listen without judgment and without preconceived ideas of what it's telling you to do, and just create an open dialogue with the messages that are coming from the heart space, metaphorically speaking, wherever that lives for you. Some of you, it might be in your gut, might be in your base chakra, your throat chakra, your crown, who knows? I'm not an expert on chakras, but I am an expert on trusting intuitive guidance. And I do know that trusting that intuitive guidance, especially in relationships, is imperative to your peace of mind and to building a healthy heart space for yourself and cultivating with others. So if I'm looking here, I'm looking at the messages that people have written in. I'm not distracted. So here's the message that came through in relationship to the queries I had today and in relationship to Valentine's Day. The first one is keep your heart open to possibilities. Keep your heart open to the place where you're out there looking, you are putting yourself out there. Maybe you're doing online dating. Maybe it's about connecting with an open heart on one of these platforms like LinkedIn, where you're actually looking for business connections. This heartfelt connection does not just have to be about love itself. It can be about opening your heart to serving on a deeper level, opening your heart to deeper connections on LinkedIn or wherever you are in your life. Maybe you're putting your dating profile out there. And I'm going to talk about that at the end. A secret trick that I have for you if you are doing online dating, which I know a lot of people have judgment about online dating, but hey, I want you to know that my mom met my stepdad because at 75, she was willing to do online dating, and he is the love of her life. I love Papa Don. I'm so grateful for him. And it all happened because she was willing to put herself out there on this dating app. So one of the things that people often ask in relation to love is, I need some clarification on the nature of this relationship, on how I feel about this relationship, on what I'm doing with this relationship, on who I'm being within the relationship. And so that's the first place we're going to start today, with a reader submitted question. It's a little long and there are different layers to it, but I'm going to get to the guidance part of it as soon as I can, but I'm going to just read it for you right now. Dear Siddiqui, I am a 64-year-old woman, and I'm finally working on my will so that I have my affairs in order. Good for you. It has brought up some unresolved feelings around commitment, and I'm hoping that as the friend that tells the truth, you could shed some light on them for me. Currently, I live with my partner of 4 years. However, we are not married. To be honest, we've had some shakiness, and I'm unclear about where we stand now. As I work on my will, I'm asking myself, what is it in me that's creating a lack of full safety and commitment? And is it even my path to choose commitment? If so, what needs to be addressed or healed in regards to my ability to commit or to receive commitment? And that is from Commitment Confused in Los Angeles, California. Well, first of all, Commitment Confused, you're not alone in commitment confusion. It's the number one source of conflict in our relationships is, what are we committed to? Who are we committed to? Why are we committed to them? And what does it mean to be committed itself? So let's start there, shall we? Let's start with that really juicy answer on commitment. And what's coming through right away is that the first commitment that always needs to be made in any relationship is the commitment to thine own self be true. So you said that you have been on shaky grounds. If you've been working, as I'm sure you have been, to actively address those shaky grounds, then the next question is, who and what am I committing to? Am I committing to something outside of myself, a notion of what love and relationships should look like, some romanticized notion? Or am I coming back and realizing that all commitments start with ourselves, with our own commitment to growth and change, no matter what anyone around us is doing? So, dear one, as you look at your will, as you get your affairs in order, what a brilliant time to assess your level of commitment to yourself, to your own growth, and a commitment to your heart's desires, irregardless of what this other person is doing or not doing. So if your heart desires lifelong commitment, then that is what we would direct you towards. If your heart desires a moment by moment commitment that you are making to yourself and in relationship, then that is your guiding light in this relationship. But because you said about shakiness, because you said that you weren't sure, it's always good to pull back and detach yourself from the current relationship and go to that higher level of insight for yourself, that place where your heart has its desires, your heart wants what it wants, and to get really clear with yourself about what it is that you are desiring. We don't know what happens in afterlife, in this physical incarnation. And so your only commitment is to living out this life to the best of your ability. And your commitment is to really spend some soul searching time with yourself, commitment confused, about what it is that you are committed to giving and receiving for yourself, not with the person's face, not with this current relationship, but take it to that meta view of what is it that my heart really desires? Put pen to paper and just get really honest with yourself. That's part one. Part two is look at this list of passion, of heartfelt desires that you have without judgment, and just sit with it every day and admit to yourself that you are the one that gets to choose either now or later, whether or not you have your own back and whether or not you are committed to fulfilling this desire for yourself, no matter what another person is doing. So the responsibility and the commitment always comes back to committing more deeply and more fully, taking responsibility for our own desires, and not waiting for someone or something outside of ourselves to necessarily give us that which we are desiring. Certainly in partnership, it is amazing when the other person can mirror you and mirror that commitment. And when you can be on the same page with what it is that your heart is desiring and your partner's heart. And that is the basis for commitment. So as you look at this list, first assess whether you are meeting your own commitments to yourself. And if the answer is check, 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 yes, you are, then you can go in and look at the current situation and take an assessment of that in terms of your ability to commit to this imperfect human being. And that's what love is. It's a commitment to love someone imperfectly because you are imperfect, they are imperfect, but to practice opening your hearts and loving each other. And that is the commitment. The commitment isn't so much to the other person as it is a commitment to being in relationship with someone else and expanding and exploring that heart space. Hope that was helpful. Confused in California. Do let us know how that landed with you. So the next question is, should I stay when I'm not in love? Dear Siddiqui, I have been with my partner for over 5 years, but I can't shake this inner knowing that something is missing for me in this relationship. While I love her deeply, I am not in love. Is it wrong to want to leave a perfectly good relationship in order to find true love? And that is from Lost in Love from Oslo, Norway. So the question is, should I stay when I am not in love? There are many situations where you will feel obligated to stay because there are so many good things about a person, a place, a thing, a situation that you find yourself in. However, if you listen to the previous message, if you get in touch with what your heart truly desires, and first and foremost, if you will admit to yourself that you know what you know and that you desire what you desire without needing to justify it, without needing to fight against yourself and your own desires, then the conflict will not be with another person, but you will realize the conflict has always been with yourself and your inner knowing. Whenever we are confused or in conflict in a relationship, it is because we have first been in conflict with ourselves and we are not trusting that deep inner knowing. Many people that come to me on Dear Siddiqui and also in my personal practice are in conflict with themselves about their desires. And they have said something along the lines of close enough is good enough. That is your choice. And it is always a choice. There is no right and wrong. There's what do you choose? Do you choose to stay in a relationship where you're not in love and settle for good enough, close enough is good enough, because that satisfies you on some other levels? It's not always about romantic love. Sometimes it's about compatibility. Sometimes it's about friendship. Many times it's about circumstances, external things that play a role. But if you're asking about following your heart and being deeply, deeply in love with another, we would bring you back every single time to being deeply in love with the knowingness that you have from the get-go, your initial gut instinct about a person, about a situation, about a relationship. Because more often than not, dear ones, that initial knowing is the truth. And you psych yourself out of it. You think yourself out of it for many different reasons. But that deep, subtle knowingness that is often very neutral in the beginning, that sense of you know what you know, does not need to be justified. It needs to be followed. So if you are confused or if you are lost in love, then we would redirect you back to that initial sense of knowingness, sit with it and ask it what it desires from you. So that sense of knowingness that you had of this is not complete and I want complete love, how can you be in love with that desire? Own it, embrace it, fan the flames of its knowingness and follow that, because truly, 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 your heart's desires will lead you to great, great heights and great passions and great experiences. That is what we are here to do on this human earthly plane, is to experience ourselves as divine co-creators, as beings with the ability to have a higher consciousness and a higher choice. So, dear one, let yourself off the hook. If it's not perfect, admit that to yourself and then go back to what your heart desires and sit with that before you seek more external input. Really ask your heart what it is that it's requesting that you own, and give yourself permission to show up and to feed and to fuel and to flame the fire of your heart and your passion, and allow it to want what it wants and choose what it is choosing versus using your head and your intellect to stay when possibly the greatest love of your life is right around the corner. But if you stay where you are, you will never have that complete, heartfelt experience of being completely in love, which undoubtedly you've had in the past. Also, one last reminder, not all love is meant to be experienced for a lifetime. Not all relationships are meant to go through time and space with us. Relationships are a season, a reason, or a lifetime. Sometimes you are in love for a very short amount of time, a season, and you are there for the intense experience that you have in that relationship season. Maybe you're there for a reason. Some of you who believe in karma, you might be there to clear karma with a person, and maybe it's not even a love interest, but you meet people and you fall in love with the reason that you are mutually exploring together, such as a child, having a child, bringing kids onto the planet. And then there are loves that last a lifetime. And more than anything, that is choice upon choice upon choice to recommit to the love itself, to exploring all of the things that would confuse or confound you when it comes to the relationship. Most often, it's a commitment to communicating on a deeper level from your heart and really owning what it is that you need and desire without making the other person bad or wrong for owning their desires and coming to a place in the middle, like a Venn diagram. Your desires, you're owning them completely. My desires, I'm owning them completely. Where do they overlap and create this beautiful connection? Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you so much for your question. Lost in Love from Oslo. So for those of you that are listening, I want to tell you that on Friday, no, I'm sorry, not on Friday, on February 16th, which is Thursday in the States at noon Pacific time, we are going to be giving you a little taste of me using my intuition with my whole career, 35 years as a professional photographer. And I'm going to be talking to you about your personal brand and the photography that you need to put out in the world. Now, how does this relate to love? Well, if you are dating online and you are putting out pictures that are not congruent with who you are today, you are shooting yourself in the foot. There is nothing worse. And I know because I did a lot of online dating before I met my husband. There's nothing worse than showing up for a date and having the person be 10, 20 years older than their picture, 10, 20 pounds heavier than their picture. It's not a great place to start from a lack of congruence in your dating and in relationships. So how we represent ourselves needs to be from a place of deep self-love and deep self-acceptance. And if you want to know more about how to do that, and you're just stepping into the online dating community, or you've been there for a while and you haven't been receiving much success, please come on February 16th at noon. You can sign up with the link below to our personal brand photography workshop. You are your brand, whether you're dating, whether you're looking for opportunities to serve with your talents and your gifts online, or whether you're just fishing in this ocean of the World Wide Web. You are your personal brand, and I'm here to help you tune into your intuition about how you can show up more completely and own who you are, because that is the most magnetic attractor on the planet, you being you. Hope that was helpful. Once again, please like, subscribe. And if you have a question, dearsiddiqui@gmail.com. I certainly hope I see you for the free mini webinar this week, February 16th at noon. And I look forward to hearing from you. Have a fantastic Valentine's Day. Mwah, 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 mwah. All my love from Dear Siddiqui.